This is the weekly astrology forecast and cosmic weather report, a Fiona Edgar and Radiant Creators production. So, how are the stars looking this coming week?
Mm, okay. Yeah, it's a little bit up and down the way everything has been kind of recently. So tomorrow, Saturday the 18th, and on Sunday the 19th, Mercury, the planet of communication, makes some pleasant sextiles to Venus and Mars. These aspects will help to smooth over any arguments or difficulties that we had with others over the past week when we had that Mercury Chiron conjunction. So, writing, talking, making YouTube videos, studying, these are all favorable activities under these sextiles. So, also on Sunday, there's a big energy shift. The sun starts its journey through the fixed earth sign of Taurus, where it will transit until the 20th of May. So during Taurus season, the external flow of life slows down, and we have an opportunity to enjoy the physical things such as food, the outdoors, if that's possible. Taurus, being ruled by Venus, is a sign that's focused on sensuality and pleasure. Our focus switches to creating emotional and financial security for ourselves and our families. And this transit helps us to feel more grounded and connected to the earth. Sun in Taurus usually brings us more stability and a less hectic pace to our lives. However, as the Sun will make a conjunction to Uranus during this transit, we're not able to settle into our comfort zones as our reality is being shaken up. So the next major aspect that we have is on Tuesday, the 21st. This is going to be a difficult day because the Sun makes a square to Saturn. Saturn squares make everything feel very heavy. We feel like we're being weighed down and there's just this heavy energy around. We may be feeling maybe a bit depressed or lonely. And it is going to be a difficult day, but it is just for like one day. I mean, as soon as this aspect becomes exact and it starts to separate, then we will feel better. So it's a short-term thing, so don't worry about it too much. But it's just going to be more difficult that day to find pleasure in anything or to feel joy. So it's best to kind of lose yourself in your work or activity, any activity that requires a lot of focus. Or obviously you could do some yoga, meditate, or watch your favorite movie. So just plan to have some distractions on Tuesday. On Thursday, the 23rd, we have a new moon in Taurus. So the new moons symbolize new beginnings and change. This is a challenging new moon as it conjuncts Uranus and makes a square to Saturn. The main issues that I see with this Venus ruled lunation are connected to relationships. And actually, the cards that I pulled are very much relationship focused as well, but I'll get into those a little later. Venus is currently in the shadow, so she's in her shadow period, about to go retrograde in May. Quarantine and lockdowns are increasing relationship issues because suddenly people are forced to spend all of their time together at home. So obviously that can increase fighting and bickering over silly things. The lockdown is also causing us to think deeply about the future and what we are going to do when all of this is over. Any issues in relationships are being made worse by the lockdowns. One good aspect in the new moon chart is a trine between Venus and Mars. So that shows that any physical activities between partners will help to calm any issues down. In air signs, it's important to communicate effectively. So bond with your partner through topics that interest them. And that's pretty much it for the week. There aren't very many aspects, but it is a big week because we have that new moon. So the energies of the new moon will last for the next couple of weeks, and it is going to be challenging, especially in the area of relationships. So just be careful about that, but just know that things should get better as we return to normal.
Yeah, I can only imagine what many people are going through who are, families that are all locked down together. That definitely would be a time for interesting relationship issues because I do think you look at how many people, like how many unhappy relationships there are out there, especially ones with kids, and I can only imagine it's just like it's like a cage full of rats just being shaken. So there's that psychic weather I think is definitely out there. Because like how much can some people take? I mean, myself, I'm very lucky, my life is wonderful, happy, and all that, but I do know that I can only imagine what's going on behind some closed doors.
Yes.
I can-
Yeah, very much
uh,
so.
yeah, well, so it sounds like a fun week. I mean, whenever Saturn's in play, being aspected, to me, that's always a bit of a heavy time. Even if it's a slight aspect and it's not too prevalent, that makes me happy. That's good. But yeah, Saturn to me always kind of plays rough.
Hmm. Yeah, well, Saturn is about lessons and karma and responsibilities, and none of those things are fun, really. It's always kind of a tough time, but if you can get through a bad Saturn transit and learn the lesson, then your life will be massively improved afterwards.
Yeah, it's always worth it. And Saturn does reward too for those, long struggles or short struggles. If we kind of pass that test, then, Saturn rewards too. Kind of like a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde, it's oftentimes a nuisance, but it also, yeah, quite often you get payoffs during Mercury retrograde, I find.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there's all this fear attached to Mercury retrogrades now, and really that just comes from people that don't really understand it or just know a little bit of information about it. I mean, it happens 3 times a year. So no matter what, we will go through that 3 times a year for the rest of our lives. So it really isn't anything to fear. It's just bringing your attention to something that maybe needs a little bit more work. And if you do that, then your life will be improved afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, one thing we were going to talk about today was I guess you'd say, psychic protection. And that's a great topic for this week coming up. Because I think this week, especially, probably the next couple weeks, let's see, we have, what is today? Today's the 17th. So if I look at a calendar, we've got, let's see, what's the rest of the month look like? Okay, so we have basically 2 weeks left in this month. And, America's talking about, Trump was tweeting, and he also, well, he's always tweeting, but he did his little, press conference that they have every day. And they were talking about let's get open again on, May 1st. And of course, there's, guidelines and this and that, but still, it seems like we're in the midst of, I don't mean to sound too crazy for some people who might be listening, but this is sort of like, Trump is kind of like the, humanity's answer to the deep state, you might say. Many people think that. And so definitely this whole lockdown that's been going on, uh, this is the first time I've ever seen humanity sort of go through what many individuals are going through, have been going through for like their whole lives, who are interested in, sovereignty, being your own person, natural law, having rights, all these things. Your more libertarian, human sovereignty-minded people have realized that there's this overbearing authoritarian government that wants to, basically follow the example of China and how people are treated, and then even worse. So this is the first time that I would say, I think globally, we're everybody gets to share in this reality. And I don't feel vindictive, but maybe I do a little bit. I kind of feel like opening my window and like yelling out the window, how does it feel, people? This didn't just happen. you know mm. So how would you say this coming as thing? I think the rest of this month is going to be a bit crazy because now, that you have Trump, and also really I would say the American citizenry, and probably a lot of the world's citizenry is, they're done with it. They're like, look, they've been home more. They've been looking at doing research. It's like the corona thing, it's just not playing out. It's kind of like Al Gore said, we'd all be underwater now because of global warming. The alarmists like Gates and Fauci and all these people, and the WHO, saying that we need to be drug out of our homes and all this crap, and like millions will be dead, and it's not panning out. And then more and more, it's been, we couldn't even list all the stuff going on that's kind of blowing the lid off this. It seems like humanity is, at least here in the country, to this country, I'm seeing, to a surprising extent, is realizing that this was a farce. This is not real. It's not as bad as it appears. That is known. The numbers are being finagled, and at least that's people's take on it. And we're already seeing protests this last week in different states in this country, where people are out in front of the Capitol just going like, forget it, open it up. This is, we're done. So these next 2 weeks are going to be interesting. We got to have good psychic protection, because this spiritual battle, as we put it, this is going to be, this next 2 weeks, it is so game on, because the forces of darkness do not want people to be freed from their lockdown. but
Yeah.
but humanity does want to be let out of their houses. So how do you see the next 2 weeks? How can we it's a great topic. How can we protect ourselves from, the cosmic psychic battle being fought? Everyone's going to feel it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, astrologically, this heavy oppressive influence that we're feeling, is symbolized by Saturn. So the one of the most important days is when the sun makes that difficult square to Saturn on the 21st. And then that energy kind of stays there until the 23rd, when we have that difficult new moon. So it's imperative around those couple of days that we really have the psychic protection up, because even if we don't really experience anything in our immediate personal lives, there's going to be stuff going on in the world that we don't even know about. And that creates an energetic backlash, and that affects everyone. So, excuse me, even during terrorist attacks and stuff like that have happened before, there's this dark energy that comes from that, and it affects everyone. It can make you sick, it can make you feel depressed. Some people even feel suicidal. So you need to shield yourself. The number one way that you can shield yourself from any form of energetic attacks is by strengthening your own energy. You can wear as many talismans as you want, you can draw symbols on your forehead, but unless your own energy is strong, these are going to be useless. So you have to make sure that, first of all, you need to have a healthy body, because an unhealthy body is a weak aura that is much more susceptible to psychic attacks. So you need to have a healthy diet, get some exercise, try not to drink, try not to smoke, etc. You know what to do. The second thing that you need to do is, if you have any trauma, unresolved traumas from your childhood, maybe you were bullied by your family or when you were at school, if you still feel like a victim, you're a prime target for any negative energy that comes towards you. Until you feel strong in yourself and you feel sure of yourself and strong, and that no one can harm you, you're always going to be a target. So you have to work on developing that inner strength within yourself, and those things are the number one defense against any form of psychic attack, whether it comes from another person, a spirit, or some other thing like the government or whatever. So work on yourself, do your inner work, um, get rid of any fear, negative emotions, as any kind of psychic attack is like water. It will take the fastest route, and these negative emotions that you have will just be used against you. Also, be an honorable person, because it acts as a shield against negativity. The pagan people, a lot of pagan civilizations, they were all about honor, because they knew that it protected them. It acts as a shield. So as well as that, you can obviously use, you can use amulets and things like that. I mean, I have my Thor's hammer on, which I wear in an act of defiance, but also it protects me. You can make a connection with your ancestral gods, as they will act as a shield and protect you as well. Turn off your TV because they can psychically attack you through that, and your little devices that you have to carry everywhere with you. Also, clean up your mundane world, because whatever it is that you allow in your personal life will be reflected back on you by the spirit world. So, for example, poor boundaries will lead to attracting intrusive spirits or intrusive energy that you just don't want.
So it's a great time for that feng shui of the house.
Yeah.
Get your house in order, because definitely spending a little bit more time at home than I usually do recently, I've definitely noticed that, and it's nothing new. I've always known this, but you really feel that, or I really come to the realization that, that messy closet is fear. Wherever our house is not in order, I always look at it like there's fear lurking there. I've realized how and why you look at like a Zen temple, and there's not much there, because they'd have to dust it and clean it and arrange it, and they will have their little they rake the sand in their little sand gardens, and they trim their bonsais. And so it's funny where you go to a Zen temple and you realize, wow, there's just peace here, and a huge part of it is there's no mess and everything is orderly. So I think definitely for psychic weather, this is a great time to do some feng shui in your house, whether you do it technically feng shui or whether you just clean that closet. Think about how much that messy closet is driving you nuts and how those extension cords are driving you crazy, because definitely that will create more power in the home. Plants in the home, if you're allowed to go outside, the more plants you got in your home, the better, especially if they're all happy. Get rid of ones that are not. And I think breathing is a huge one right now too. I do we try to do our Wim Hof breathing here every day, and I'll put a link to that. But definitely when you're breathing deeply, if you're doing some breathing exercises, breathe into that heart center, and breathe out all the bit of trauma and fear you might have there, because there's so much psychic weather right now. There's so much going on. Breathing deeply and breathing into that heart and breathing out the tension that's in there is, something I'm finding I have to do at least once a day, if not a couple times a day. You want to breathe because you realize, man, I'm really getting uptight in the heart. One of the ways that we, truly feel, a lot of our feeling, a lot of our perception comes from the heart center, not just our usual five senses. And in this time of intense psychic weather, clear that heart center out, and of course, like Fana was saying, eating better. A lot of people say, I already eat healthy. You can do better. We all can do better. Try to do a little better. Just it's a good time too. Exercising, of course. And like you're mentioning with the media, here's a big one that I'm seeing right now as far as psychic weather. Something people could, look out for is, this is of course, a global event, and it's definitely a spiritual event. And there's people who like this. I definitely would say that anybody who's following along with Thomas Sheridan on his daily videos almost, the SJW culture, as we call it, they now have their COVID-19 God, like all the climate and the borders and everything. That's all kind of not, no one's listening right now. No one cares about feelings as much. They're not interested in all this silly stuff. And so now they have their great COVID God. And if you think about it, it's like perfect. We're all stuck in our homes. We're all slaves. We can all tattle on each other. We're dependent on the government to save us and give us a little money to keep living. And everything is becoming centralized. All small businesses are going away. People's jobs are going away. All we have is like dependence on the state soon. And like rather than have small stores and such, all we're going to have is like Amazon and Walmart. You know what I mean? It's like a garden store can't be open, but Walmart can. Walmart's can. It's crazy what's going on. And even what you can buy in these big stores is metered now. You can't go in this section. Sorry, that's not essential. So it's insane. And there's some people who have to remember this is like their dream come true. You've got those who are orchestrating it, and of course they're not going to give up easily. This is their big con, and they got to pull it off, or they'll be out of luck for a decade before they can try it again, maybe. And then there's those who are their hearts match it. You know, they just can't wait to be the neighborhood watch captain and tattle on people and drag them out of their homes. I know I sound terrible, but there's people who dig this. And so really, one, protecting their energy, I think it's very important to avoid getting in the fight. And don't get in the fight in social media. Don't get in the fight with your neighbors and such like that. At least for me, and I'd ask just like how you feel about this strategy. It's a great time to breathe, keep that heart center working, focus on your immune system is connected to God, as they say. You know, just get your own power as powerful as you can, because we are going through a time of evolution, and there's massive cosmic energy hitting the earth, and really I'm kind of going through a bit of a narcissistic period where I'm just stepping back and going, you know what, I can manifest now, I can clear out bad energy from my body, I want to be on the other end of this, which it will end. I want to come out in better shape, healthier, a more abundant creator with more wealth. I'm just kind of like, I'm not going to get in this fight. I'm just going to supercharge my energy and definitely have my psychic armor up, because it's a shitstorm out there. And I got to avoid getting in that fight, because that fight, oh my God, all I have to do is just look at anything online, and that fight wants to drag me in. And I'm ready for it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, all of these like pointless fights with people on the internet, like I'm so sick of. I mean, I try not to engage in those because it's it's a waste of energy. But I'm tired of seeing them as well. Like, there's a lovely picture of a fluffy cat, and people are arguing about politics in the comments. It's never ending, but it's such a distraction. And, one thing I've discovered is that if you're the type of person and you're doing spiritual work, or you're doing, making podcasts like we do, and you're speaking out about controversial things, other people are used as an attack against you. So whatever this darkness is in the world, it's like in the Matrix when Agent Smith just pops into someone's body, it is exactly like that. So you have to be very discerning about who you allow into your circle, because they can just be used as an attack against you, your neighbors, your family, depending on what kind of person they are to begin with, they can be compromised.
That's very true. It's something I've, seeing now more than ever, is where, in the Matrix, Agent Smith was anybody. Agent Smith could come through anybody that really was in the Matrix, I guess you'd say. I mean, only those who had really been unplugged and lived on the Nebuchadnezzar or down in Zion, if one knows the whole Matrix story. And that's a hard road. So that's the thing. People who are not buying into this, people who are, I say it humbly because it sounds very egotistical, but awake, aware, people have earned that. And it didn't just happen last week. Most people who are seeing this whole shenanigans for what it is at this point, you earned it. You spent a lot of time on it and on yourself. And so, right now the noise out there has quieted down. It's quieter, and yeah, definitely. This is such a time to just do your own work. Use this time to come out of it better. The way I see social media has changed. The way I don't know. There's just so much going on. It just keeps getting quieter and quieter and quieter, and things will never be the same. But I think that they will definitely be better for those who can just focus on that center, focus on psychic protection is a big one right now, and for me, yeah, definitely. Everybody breathe and focus on that center. What do you want to manifest in life? Focus on that. However you do that kind of meditation, Because really, I think this is a secret and sacred time that we're going to miss when it's over, sort of. That all of us who are able to connect to our source, our center, fire up that psychic armor, and we're going to come out of this like, I want to be first out the gate in the race. You know what I mean? It's like, because I have a feeling that the first, May 1st, I just have this, as we speak of cosmic weather, I have a feeling that the worst is over May 1st. Even though it's going to be fallout for quite a while, I think if you can get onto your positive manifestation, if you can get into your own energy and you can start creating and put up your psychic armor and you can use this powerful time, I think May 1st, for people who are awake, I think this is over. Egotistical, I know it may sound, but I really think those radiant creators out there, if you supercharge yourself right now, eat great, get in better shape, breathe deep, get rid of the fear, focus on what you want to manifest and do it. Out of the gate, May 1st, you're going to be so far ahead of that game that, just don't even look back. How about you?
Yeah, yeah. And May 1st, I mean, that's when, let's see, Pluto goes retrograde on the 25th of April, and then Saturn goes retrograde on the 11th of May. So, yeah, that window, we should really see all of the restrictions being removed around that time, I would say, because this whole thing started with Saturn and Pluto. It was that conjunction that we had. So when they go retrograde, then the power from the government and the control system is waning. So yeah, I could totally see that. I think you're spot on. But yeah, this has been personally, I've been planning. I've been doing a lot of planning during this time. I've been figuring out what I want to do, what other things that I want to do with my life other than being an astrologer. I have a lot of plans. So it's a magically spiritual time. And yes, there's so much power and energy around at the minute to manifest whatever we want. So thinking doomsday is here and oh no, the economy and everything's going to be terrible. It's going to be the Great Depression. Well, you're not going to manifest anything good by with that mindset. So yeah, write down your dreams and manifest the hell out of it.
Yeah, this is the time because you've got cosmic support right now. You really do. And I'd also just reference how do we know these things are true? People talk about the economy, what's going to happen, and oh, it's the worst thing since the Great Depression, and oh, and there was the Spanish flu of 1918, and all these things. Well, that was then, that's not now. How do I know anything I'm hearing is true? Who knows? We don't know. All that is really just black magic that people, I'll call them the globalists, those with the dark hearts, the empire, that's what they want you to manifest for them. And that's one thing I've realized now more than ever is, and I don't trust anybody who's selling something, and I don't trust anybody who also is trying to sell a bias, a hard-coded bias, because even though, I guess in my humble opinion, I think the scam has been exposed for what it is. And there are plenty of people out there who are like, oh no, don't buy it, don't go outside, oh, we're all going to start getting sick. And now since you've got maybe us here in America opening up, May 1st or even before, you've got the mainstream media, of course, you got a lot of governors of some states here in this country that are going, oh no, it's getting, all of a sudden now it's getting worse, supposedly. And we've already, like in New York, they got busted for retroactively saying that people who died okay, now how many people, we need more corona deaths. Okay, so let's just take a couple, 100 or 1,000 people, whatever it was, and we'll just say that those people who died of coronavirus. So they're making these numbers up. They are pulling them out of their ass to manipulate. And so really, it's more and more, it's like ignore the world. Gosh.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard about that happening over and over again. Someone's relative died and they'd been dying of cancer for like months upon end, and then they put down on the certificate that they died of COVID-19. Like it's just totally ridiculous. But so many people are skeptical of this. I know we still have the people that are in fear and wanting the lockdown to continue until like next year. But so many people that you just would not expect are just saying that this is so fishy. And then, all of these people in the media, like Bill Gates, just suddenly appearing everywhere, like he's this world expert on health. And I heard that they had to take down his Microsoft advertisement because there were so many comments underneath it that people just cannot stand him now, and they know what he's doing.
Oh yeah, on Twitter and Instagram, whenever he posts anything, whenever he's like, "Oh no, everybody stay scared. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. Everyone keep listening to me." Blah. Whenever he posts something, they're having a hard time with it because there's just hundreds, there's thousands of comments like, "We're on to you." It's over. You know what I mean? Take your vaccine and shove it up your ass. There's just non-stop. And so people have been watching that, and of course, he'll have his little crew sitting there trying to delete comments. But what I think is so beautiful is they can't keep up. They literally can't keep up. Maybe that's why they may. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with his social media, but if he allows comments, unless he like just turns comments off, literally his little crew, who knows how big it is, it could be a whole floor of a building somewhere, that are trying to delete bad comments. They can't keep up. And that, to me, is a really, really beautiful thing, because it's hard. I mean, all we tend to hear quite often is just the screech of the empire, the hiss of the snake, as Stuart Wilde used to call it. All the people who are, locked down, like social distancing needs to. We'll have to keep doing it the rest of our lives now, so 2020 at least, and. You got a lot of humanity going, wait a second, like humanity for thousands or millions of years, depending on what you believe, humans have had an immune system, and you're trying to tell me that like last November or January, it went away? Like we no longer have an immune system. We just die if we get something, unless Bill Gates saves us. Like, it's just like people are sort of, even people you wouldn't expect, like I say, we live in an area with a lot of old people, a lot of retirement people here, and they're all talking over the fence going, that Bill guy can take his vaccination, stick it up my ass, and I ain't getting no tattoo with my number on it,
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I mean the vaccination thing, and our immune systems, like over here, I don't know what they do in the States, but over in the UK, they start to give little kids flu vaccination every year, like every winter. These poor kids get this vaccination. And, if you don't want your kid to have it, then you have to write in specially and request that they don't get it. But what happened to building the immune system? Why does no one talk about that anymore? Because, of the vaccinations. It's terrible. Like it breaks my heart to see that. But I think more people are becoming more aware of the dangers of these vaccinations.
They are, and I like seeing humanity get a little badass, because we need to get tougher. Humanity does, and then also so does our immune system. And when you look at how unhealthy many people are, I'm surprised they have an immune system at all to fight anything. And then when you look how easily many people allow themselves to be manipulated, when they have a connection to the divine, we are all literally biological. We are organic lie detectors. We know the truth. We can feel it, and so people need to turn on that their natural human instincts, their natural human lie detector, which really is infallible. Get their immune system to be badass. Be tougher. This is it's a scary time. It's a scary time for me, because I do look at it like, who knows who's going to win on this one? I still don't know, but I guess what's really important is just to, it's like Rudolf Steiner said in one of his lectures, gosh, back in like I think 1901 or something. He said that, the purpose of evil is freedom, is to offer the self-aware person freedom, because you have your connection to the divine, you know the truth, and then when you see evil, that offers you that choice of being the divine, of being truth, of living a beautiful life. So, if nothing else, just make sure that you win in all of this, that you saw evil for what it was worth. Evil is right now after the whole damn world. And everyone is getting that choice. You can see it, and you can have and you can choose your divine nature. And I mean that's really it, because I guess according to Steiner, without evil we wouldn't have choice, we wouldn't have freedom. So ultimately, if you're seeing this for what it is, and your intuition is saying this is bullshit, I don't buy it at all, then you're free. You're free. There's nothing they can do to you, and just focus on that freedom. Breathe, eat well, exercise, live, enjoy life. And honestly, when it comes to this battle, we've already won individually if you choose to.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I totally agree with you. So I have put some tarot cards for the week ahead. I pulled them earlier, and they seem to be very much relationship focused on an internal kind of level, a more personal level. So the first card that I pulled is the Lovers.
Hmm.
Nice card. I actually have the Game of Thrones deck that I'm using today. My husband bought me that for Christmas. So it has a nice picture of Jon Snow and his girlfriend. Gosh, I forget her name, but the lovely lady with the red hair. So they're standing there, embracing on top of the ice mountain or the ice wall that they just climbed. Then I have the Page of Cups and the Magician.
Mm. Wow.
So yeah, I've got a lot of different messages coming to me up through these cards, and they will apply to different people because I know that a lot of different people watch our show, so they're not going to resonate with everyone. So the first messages that I get from the Lovers card is a couple that have been through a lot recently, and I know most of us have been through a lot the past few years because the astrology has been very tough. But this is a couple that have climbed through many different obstacles. They've had a lot of people against them, actually. A lot of people trying to break them up. Maybe they come from different backgrounds and their relationship hasn't been accepted. So I see that maybe things have been a bit difficult between them recently for one reason or another, but I see it's starting to come a bit easier for them. And for some reason, the month of June, the month of end of May until the end of June is very relevant for this. So if you're someone that has been through a lot of relationship issues recently, or just things haven't been going well for you, then I would expect things to start picking up again for you end of May, June. Um, Another possibility is that one of you or some of you may meet someone. If you're single, you may meet someone new over this period of time, or you may have met someone, you're just currently friends, and a new relationship is going to form. Um, and yeah, it looks like a really good union to me. So then we have the Page of Cups here. This could be a child. So the Page of Cups is quite often a pregnancy or a young child, and um this could be somebody actually getting pregnant when they've been trying for ages, and that's one possibility. I don't really like to make those predictions, but that's just what I'm seeing here. Um, or there's some issue with this child, and it's causing this friction within the relationship. But again, I kind of see that being smoothed over the summertime. So lastly, we have the Magician card, and the Magician is really about a lot of the things that we just talked about. So first of all, it's about being able to manifest your dream life and having all of the tools there, everything that you need, all of the energy that you need, and all of the ambition that you feel to make a real positive change within your job or within your life. and being the magician of your own life and not surrendering your power or your strength to anyone else. It's very important. The second thing about this is the psychic protection that we just discussed, and I do feel that some of you need to include your partner in this psychic protection. So maybe you're a spiritual person, but your significant other isn't really into like spiritual stuff. Well, maybe you should extend your protection to them, which you can do quite easily if you just use visualizations. Um, the other message that's coming up here is that this magician is someone that's trying to interfere in your relationship, and just to be aware of that. So on the card here, it's actually Littlefinger from the Game of Thrones. So we know that Littlefinger was someone that had a very, I always saw him as a Gemini, but in a very negative way. Don't get me wrong, I love Geminis. They're very entertaining, very smart, and I have a lot of them as my friends. But this would be the negative side of Gemini, going back and forth and saying one thing to one person. And some of you just need to be aware of this person and to guard what it is, to guard anything that you hold dear against this person. The other message that I'm getting about this is that, oh, I wasn't getting these messages earlier, but I'm getting them now. So, on a global sense, this magician could be someone like Trump, okay? And I mean that in a good way. Someone who is just upsetting the empire, um, upsetting this kind of dark regime that's been in place for way too many years. And he may be joining forces with someone. I don't know if it's like Boris Johnson or Putin or someone that maybe we don't even know about, to kind of combat this, using good magic to kind of combat this darkness, whatever it is. So the other thing that we need to be aware of is that Venus is in the shadow, and we will be experiencing more relationship issues. Venus is a big theme here. So don't make any hasty decisions. Don't say, okay, my partner is really, really, really annoying me with all these horrible habits that I just didn't notice before. Just ride it through and things are going to be okay. So May, June, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Because yeah, I've noticed a lot of I would just call it Mercury retrograde energy. I know Mercury retrograde is not, it's not happening right now, but I've just felt a real sort of uh, it feels like it's Mercury retrograde to me. And whenever I get that feeling, which can just be, a person's personal stars, it could just be a lot of things. It doesn't have to come from Mercury retrograde, but it kind of feels like it in one's life. It really is a great time to just chill. Don't make any decisions. Realize that any decisions you make are hasty, and just wait till you feel better. It's so important.
Yeah, and actually you're very intuitive, because I mean that Mercury retrograde type of energy that you're still picking up on, I feel that too. And the reason why is because Venus is in the shadow in Gemini, so it's a sign that's ruled by Mercury. So we're going to feel like we're under the longest Mercury retrograde ever. And yes, a lot of this Venus retrograde will be about relationships, but the usual, actually, Mercury retrograde rules will apply. Miscommunications are more likely, taking the wrong end of the stick, and just we just need to be more careful with our words. And yeah, things just feel bonkers, but just enjoy the ride, go along with it.
And Gemini being affected, if Gemini is involved, I mean that's communication ultimately. And I look at at least for us over here, the internet's been weird. Communication's been a little difficult. Like, we were a little bit delayed getting started because Skype just wasn't working, and I'm like, what's going on? Why does it pick this moment not to work? It always works. you know. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Well, we've been at it for 44 minutes, and I mean, I think we got, I can ramble forever, so I have to meter myself. So, but I think we've kind of covered a good deal of ground for people. I mean, this is definitely content rich and something that I think people can use this coming week or two for sure. Is there anything else you're thinking of, Fiona, today?
Um, I can't really think of anything else other than everything that we've covered. Just keep your shields up, keep your psychic shields up. Um, make good choices, eat well, get some sunlight. If you're lucky enough to have a garden, spend a lot of time in your garden, ground yourself in nature, eat good food, enjoy sensual pleasures with your partner. These are all things that the quarantine has no control over.
It's absolutely true, and I will. I'll link in the show notes. The Wim Hof breathing. You can do it on YouTube along with Wim, and it really helps to get that tension out. And then also for manifesting, I'm gonna link to a Joe Dispenza meditation. People can, you gotta buy it, but it's very cheap, and it really helps get that heart-centered gratitude going and connecting to the divine. And I think they're very timely for this moment. Well, thanks Fiona Edgar for hanging out today, and I guess we'll wrap it up, and I will get this posted right away, and I will send you the usual links.
Okay, thanks, Craig.
Oh,
Good to
thank
talk
you.
to you.
Hi, Fiona.
Oh, Erin says hi.
Hi, Aaron.
There she. Fiona says hi. All right. Let's see.